All right, so now we're official.
I think so. Does it say we're recording?
Yes, it did. Yes.
My Zoom is sketching out a little bit, so I apologize in advance.
Okay. Well, welcome everybody to our first biannual full partnership meeting. We meet twice a year with everybody who's a member of the New Jersey Coastal Resilience Collaborative. So thank you very much for joining us today. And please, if you haven't done so already, enter your name and affiliation in the chat. And if you're a new member joining us for the first time, please indicate that by putting new or something that lets us know you're joining us for the first time. So we really just want to recognize how many people have started to join us, and we're quite excited to have you here. So for a lot of us, we only get together twice a year, or maybe we see each other in passing or at a coffee chat that the organization hosts. But for those of you that are just joining us, we'll give you a little bit of background about the Coastal Resilience Collaborative. The group was brought together with a mission to establish a professional network to foster sustainable and resilient coastal communities and ecosystem by generating informed action. So that's how we all got to this place. We all have an interest in our coasts and being resilient to future climate change and storm impacts, both from a community aspect and as well as an ecosystem aspect. So we're really happy you're here to join us and talk about these issues. And the way we work, we primarily work through partner work groups focused on advancing science to inform policy and enable community action. So we're in a space where we try to promote new research and learning about resilience and translate that into better policy, rules, regulations, as well as helping our communities take action on that information. So welcome again. For an official welcome, we have, I hope, Tony McDonald on the line. I haven't seen if he's joined us yet, but I should also say I'm Tom Harrington. I'm one of the co-facilitators of the New Jersey Coastal Collaborative. I'm here along with Laura Kerr, who's also a co-facilitator. Laura's running these slides that she pulled together for us, so thanks, Laura. And we have our three co-chairs with us, Tim Dillingham, Ed Mahoney, and Tony McDonald. Hopefully you've received the agenda in the last hour. Here it is if you haven't. Most of these meetings are formatted so that we have updates from the New Jersey DEP. We typically like to bring in a guest speaker that's working within the community resilience space. So today we're very fortunate to have Jack Heidi from FEMA here to talk about the direct technical assistance FEMA can provide communities in resilience. And then we give you all an update of what the collaborative has been working on. What have our work groups been doing? How maybe you can get engaged with those work groups if you have an interest. And then we like to highlight what our partners are doing. So that's kind of the agenda in a nutshell. And with that, I will invite Tony McDonald or Ed Mahoney to give a welcome.
Tom, it's Ed Mahoney. I don't hear Tony yet. He'll be arriving shortly, but on behalf of Tim and I.
Oh, no, he's here. Oh, okay, sorry, Ed. Go ahead.
He's here, but go for it, Ed. I always ride in your wake, so please lead us on, my friend.
Well, I think Tom gave us all a great overview of the agenda, and the purpose of this agenda, which is action-packed and very stretching the time limits, is to let you know what is going on in all sectors of the Coastal Resilience Collaborative, the public and the private and the NGOs. And I think this was a very good compilation by especially Laura and Tom of the groups that are making major action. And I want to thank Jack Heidi, who's had a lot of experience since Sandy with FEMA, for coming in to explain this new program and how we might relate to it. So I think the one point I want to make as we start is that we have Jack Heidi. We do have Nick Angarone, who's always very loyal about telling us what the state DEP is initiating and doing and what progress they've made. But it's all of you pointing out what you are doing individually, and it gives us all a chance to learn from each other, to provide networking opportunities and partnership opportunities. And it allows us as a group to move forward and to push both the state and the federal governments to continue to fund these initiatives and to continue to work towards resilience, especially in this day and age when we're threatened so much. So thank you very much. And Tom, we can move on.
Okay, Tony, did you want to add anything before we start?
Don't give me an opportunity to speak, as people who know me know that, but I will say I do. Thank you, Ed and Tom. And I guess I will just simply say I'm actually blown away by looking at the community that's on the call right now. We really has been spent quite a while building this community, and I feel like it really reflects, I think, both what I think we do already, that this is an important issue. Build it, they will come. But I'm looking at the faces that are on here and some new faces as well. And I'm pretty amazed, not only as a group what we're doing, but individually. I'm very aware of how much is being done by the partners in this effort around making New Jersey's communities more resilient. So incredibly excited to see everybody, and thanks for joining. And so I will turn it back to them. And again, hopefully you realize really there's a lot of great brain power on this call that's making a lot of stuff happening out in the real world. So appreciate that.
Okay, so as Ed mentioned, we are always grateful to have Nick Angarone join us and give us an update on the DEP's priorities and what they are working on. And so, Nick, if you're there, I invite you to come off mute.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, awesome. Great to be here. Great turnout today. Great to see, over 60 people. That's amazing. I will try and be quick here. I'm gonna perhaps rattle off some things that if you want to come back to, please let me know, but I want to be cognizant of the packed agenda. All right. I think everyone is hopefully aware at this point that DEP proposed inland flood protection rules. There is, I believe, just under 2 weeks left to provide formal public comment on those. I think the last day is February 3rd. We can provide the link to that if you need. Last fall, for those of you who've been following our work with the Resilient NJ program, those 4 regional resilience action plans were released. Quite proud of the work that was done here. I think it's going to and is already leading to some changes on the ground. So I think that's great. I'll note that we have some additional funding that will be applying to continue the work in those 4 regions. Angela gets the pleasure of seeing me for probably about another 2 years. We'll really be focusing on a continued facilitation of the ongoing work, but really moving some of those plans into implementation. Related to that, everybody should be aware that the IDA Community Development Block Grant Disaster Resilience funding from HUD that the Department of Community Affairs released state action plan on. That action plan has been approved by HUD, and so the programs and the funding that you can find within that action plan, those programs will begin to roll out over the coming weeks and months. There's a good amount of important stuff in there, a lot of it around kind of just recovery, but there is additional funding for further rounds of Resilient NJ regional planning. There's also a good amount of funding for Blue Acres, and one, I think, program that everybody should be aware of that I don't think is talked about much is a program called Resilient Communities, which is supposed to, for all intents and purposes, be a New Jersey version of the BRIC program at a smaller scale. So keep your eyes out for that as well. Again, you may have all seen announcement, I guess, last week of funding for natural climate solutions projects by DEP. These were projects that were funded by New Jersey's RGGI proceeds. The Global Warming Response Act requires that 10% of those proceeds go toward carbon sequestration projects. And there's some really great projects in there that I'm excited about. Additional regulatory updates, the NJ coastal rules continue to be developed. There are conversations, some stakeholder conversations that I believe being set up that I expect that most of you will hear about. And you know, with DEP, I say, has a very, very aggressive target to have rules proposed, I'll say, in the first half of this year. I do think that that's probably more aggressive than likely, but I think keep your eyes open, and I think you should be hearing more about that. Finally, the Interagency Council on Climate Resilience, which was established by Executive Order 89. I think, as well, again, hope, as you all know, the state finalized its statewide climate change resilience strategy in October of 2021. The Interagency Council has been moving toward, again, further implementation of that strategy, and I believe you will see an announcement soon, hopefully the next week, that the council is going to begin developing what we're terming resilience action plans. These will be focused on a specific climate hazard. And so the first one will be focused on extreme heat. As with most of the policies and strategies coming out of the IAC and based on the executive order, they will focus on what state agencies, State Department agencies can do to have an impact on the issue, including the support that they can provide to local governments. The actions that we expect to be included in there will cover everything from new policies, programs, decision-making, potentially regulations, potentially authorities, potentially legislation. We'll see what the agencies believe is both most critical and achievable. It is our expectation that all 22 of the agencies and departments on the Interagency Council provide some input into and actions into that action plan. When the announcement is made, you'll also note that there are multiple opportunities for public and stakeholder engagement in that process, including a webinar that kind of gives a high-level description of the initiative, as well as the opportunity for folks to give us specific comments and input on what they'd like to see the state do around this issue. So the schedule for this is to hopefully have a draft out for public consumption in August when it's still hot out, and then meet our two-year update requirement for the strategy in October. I will stop there, take a breath. Happy to answer questions on anything that I've rattled off there.
Yeah, thank you, Nick. We do have some time for questions if anybody has a question. Wow, no questions. That's a
somebody-
first. Oh, sorry, spoke
I
too
think
quickly.
somebody had their hand up, but maybe I missed who that was.
Dennis is clapping.
Oh,
I'll take the clapping.
All right, well, thank you.
Laura, I have a question for Nick.
Oh.
Nick, you talked about the New Jersey Resilient, the 4 projects. And I'm glad to hear that you're going to have funding for them for a couple more years to try to transition some of the plans to implementation, which I think the public and local communities really appreciate. Is there any thought of doing any more of these hubs or initiating any more of these resilient projects on a regional basis with new money?
So right now, the funding that we have for new regional projects is coming solely out of the Ida disaster.
Okay,
So the work there is limited to the Ida impacted counties, most impacted and distressed counties, which are Bergen, Essex, Hudson, Middlesex, Passaic, Somerset, and Union, I believe.
okay,
So the communities in those counties would be eligible for any of the funding, but particularly for the Resilient NJ regional work. We've got a lot of administrative hoops to jump through on that one, including the pleasure of going back through Treasury for procurement. So I don't expect that will kick off until probably the second half of this year, but we will be moving forward with funding, with that funding.
okay. Thank you.
And
Thank you for doing it.
I'll just add that we do have smaller pots of funding that we'll be utilizing to do largely municipal specific work through a little bit through CBT and coastal zone management awards. So again, communities should kind of keep their eyes out open for those opportunities.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Any more questions for Nick before we move on? Okay, well, Nick, what? Did I hear a question? Or is it my echo? Well, thank you, Nick, very much for that information and for joining us. I understand you have to leave early, so we'll catch you later. Thank you.
Thanks all.
Thank you, Nick.
Now it's my pleasure to introduce Jack Heidi at FEMA Region 2. Jack is the supervisory community planner at FEMA Region 2, or one of them. And he's offered to give us an update on a new program of direct technical assistance through the BRIC program that FEMA has. So Jack, if you're come off mute. Okay.
And I am the supervisory community planner. There is no others.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's all good. So hello everyone. Jack Heidi, as you said. I apologize. I don't have or maybe I don't apologize. I don't have a presentation to provide you because the program in many ways is still in a lot of different fluxes. So I would hate to have like an official PowerPoint that's going to change tomorrow. But I will cover BRIC DTA, which is if you're familiar with BRIC, which is the Building Resilience and Infrastructure Communities, which replaced PDM, part of the bill that created BRIC also included this, what's been abbreviated to direct technical assistance, but actually must include non-financial direct technical assistance, meaning that this is a pot of money where FEMA is able to come to the communities directly to help them with hazard mitigation projects and activities, but it does not provide money to the communities in terms of actual grant dollars or anything like that. And I'm going to drop a link to BRIC from the FEMA website. But the basic idea here is that the BRIC DTA assistance is meant for underserved and underserved communities, as well as communities at risk to climate change impacts. The underserved is set by the executive order that President Biden set into place, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with. I don't have a link to that, but I will say that when we say community, it is not limited to, say, the local jurisdiction or geographical boundary of the community. We have had things like neighborhoods apply for assistance, or it also includes tribes and other types of communities. That it's really kind of broad at this point. We've had, I can't say if we're going to actually provide them assistance or not, but we've even had like church and parishes come in for technical assistance. Whether or not we're actually going to do anything with those groups, though, remains to be seen. That's the way you apply for it is through the website I just showed you. There's a series of questionnaires of questions, and there's a survey. But what is BRIC DTA providing? So there's a whole list of potential, and I'm not going to say it's one thing over the other, but just to give you examples, we can provide hazard mitigation plan development and update assistance. We can provide community outreach and partnerships building. We can work on capability and capacity building. We can help with benefit cost analysis, grant writing workshops, grants management, BRIC sub-application development. And so it's quite open-ended at this point. And it does cover if a particular community is accepted and is brought into the program, it is a 3-year period of a technical assistance. And that 3 years could range from a single project to multiple projects, depending on what the needs of the community are. I can give you an example of working in Region 2, working in Jamestown, New York right now. We're helping them develop a climate resilience framework. We're helping them working on getting enrolled into the New York climate smart communities, which is very similar and mirror to the Sustainable Jersey program, and also possibly working on them helping to develop a scope of work for a future BRIC application to develop a comprehensive plan that includes risk reduction as a part of it. And then some places we're helping to do BRIC applications. Some places we are helping to actually do project design for actual mitigation projects. So there's quite a wide variety of things we're saying we can offer at this point. I will note that the current round of applications for BRIC DTA closes January 27th at 3 p.m., the same deadline as the actual BRIC grant application deadline. Communities do not have to go through the state for this, though. It comes directly to FEMA. Now, I will say that through the DTA that we've been working on, we are working very hard and diligently to work with the state when we're approaching these communities and working with them, but it is not a requirement that they apply through the state. This application actually comes straight to FEMA headquarters. And what are we looking for in terms of communities? I mentioned the underserved piece. I mentioned climate impacts. If you go into the actual application, which is basically just a survey, it's asking you to describe the community's history with disasters, the community, what do they need specific direct technical assistance with? What are the proposed deliverables they're looking for? What is the primary type of assistance they want? It is also looking for things like, have you received any hazard mitigation assistance funding over the last 5 years? I will note that no matter how you answer these questions, let's say you have received a BRIC application, a BRIC grant, or an HMGP grant, that doesn't mean you're precluded in being selected. It just means that you may be a lower priority in being selected. None of these are a strict this is the line for you to get assistance. So what I'll add in terms of what are we also looking for that's not there is we're really looking for the communities, the neighborhoods that come in. We're looking for the story of their disaster history, how they want to deal with it, what equity issues do they have, how are they trying to deal with that, what are their climate impacts, and how are they trying to deal with it. So some of the big categories of things we're looking in the narrative of the application, even though they're not stated directly, is, you know, what really is your capability and capacity to enact any sort of hazard mitigation, from planning to project to, you know, outreach, whatever it is. We're also looking closely at community engagement, and not have you done it necessarily, but do you intend to? Do you have a strong desire to actually engage and a commitment to engaging in the underserved communities that may exist within your community? Do you have an engagement strategy? Are you open to really building partnerships? Are you open to multiple types of partnerships? And another big one is, are you solely interested in things like gray infrastructure projects, or are you open to incorporating or maybe even shifting to more nature-based solutions? So that's kind of it in a nutshell. But I will also add, because I think this is important for anyone who is not aware or has not been paying attention, there is a new act that was passed recently by Congress and passed by Congress and signed by the president a couple weeks ago, which is the Community Disaster Resilience Zone Act of 2022. This establishes a new designation for underserved communities. And I'll try to hit it really high level. So some of the things it does is, for those of you that are familiar with the National Risk Index that was developed by FEMA, which sets a baseline for the country of natural hazards risks, as well as incorporating things like resilience indices and equity indices, vulnerability indices, I should say. It codifies the National Risk Index as the official tool for FEMA to measure, prioritize risk in the country. And will be used to do two things. One is determine by census block the 50 at most risk census blocks in the country for underserved, and that connection between underserved and climate and natural hazards risk. So what are the 50 most at risk based on those criteria? It will also require, so there's the potential, and I'm not saying this is the case, let's say all 50 of those census blocks are in Texas, but it will also say that at least the top 1% of every state must also be designated across geographic boundaries, or geographic and community types as well. So rural communities, urban communities, more suburban communities must also be within every state. And this designation, once you're designated this kind of community disaster resilience zone, it's going to come with a lot of different things, like you're going to be designated. Within those communities, there will be a certification process for designating something a certified resilience project, which hopefully will then come with things like tax incentives and investment opportunities, both private and public. And why am I bringing up this all to you within the terms of BRIC DTA is because the way it looks right now is this, and this will include direct technical, non-financial, as well as financial assistance to communities that are designated. But as it stands right now, it looks like this program, once we work through all the regulation and development, will be enwrapped with the BRIC DTA, sort of transforming what started out as just BRIC related, now becoming more direct technical assistance at large. And one of the things I did forget to mention earlier about BRIC DTA is there is a conception right now that whatever the assistance is, it has to result in a BRIC application or project. And that is not the case. We can provide, right now, we can provide assistance for, say, this is all theoretical as well, so don't take me at my precise word, but we could provide assistance to, say, the more appropriate resilience projects you need is related to something EPA does. So we could help you develop an EPA grant application as opposed to a FEMA HMA hazard HMA grant application, or like I mentioned earlier, we're helping Jamestown, New York enter into a state program that's not going to result in a FEMA grant application per se. So I will stop there. That was a lot of information. And I will also drop my email in the chat just for anyone who wants to reach out to me one-on-one.
Yeah, thank you, Jack. That was a lot of new information. Anybody have any questions for Jack? I see Isabel raised her hand. You want to come off mute?
So just a couple basic questions, because I'm not so familiar with this program, but what's your kind of average grant size, and is this ongoing? Are you doing this every year?
So this will be every year. Right now, the BRIC DTA is attached to the BRIC NOFO that comes out annually. I think we are trying to separate those things as a separate NOFO that comes out probably annually. And I didn't mention this earlier, but in the first round, we had 8 communities, because that's all who applied, because even now, and I'll say even inside of FEMA, a lot of people still don't grasp what BRIC DTA is. The next round, we brought in 20 communities. This year, we're supposed to be bringing in 40 communities. And next year, we're looking at, I think, 80 until we reach a point where we're supposed to try to be bringing in 100 communities nationwide every year.
Great.
And I don't know how that will change as well with the introduction of the Disaster Resilience Zone Act. I don't know if that will increase, or we're just going to try to maintain the 100.
Thanks.
So I have a question if there's no more coming from the audience. So if a community, how does the community know if it's eligible for the direct technical assistance? You had mentioned this designation's coming out, but today, how do they find that information?
So they would, I provided the website earlier, the link. If you scroll halfway down that page, it has a button that says apply. There's not, I'll say there's not really eligibility criteria as much as we will take every year. We will take in all those communities that submitted something, and we will work through the, I'll say, selection criteria, which are not eligibility criteria. They're basically a list of things we're looking for that will set how each region will prioritize the communities that came in. And then it will be up to senior leadership in FEMA at headquarters to determine which communities actually get selected. So really, it's literally any community. And remember, it's a broader definition of community can apply.
Oh, thank you. That's great to know.
Jack,
Yeah.
this is Ed Manny from Cape May. Good to see you again. I think you may have just answered my question in your last comment. Are all the regions of FEMA doing this with maybe some unique interpretations, or is this limited to certain FEMA regions?
No, this is all regions are a part of this.
Okay,
It depends every year. As you can imagine, it's on the communities to apply. So in the first round, not a single person applied from FEMA Region 2. So no one applied from New York, New
Jeez.
Jersey, Puerto Rico, or the BI. In the second year, a handful more applied from New Jersey, and one was selected. So the borough of Oceanport is the first New Jersey community that is currently doing this. What I don't have any idea what, we're in the very early stages. So what kind of assistance they actually want is still being determined. But they are in the DTA program. And the selection criteria is the national criteria. But at the end of the day, 2 things. One, the region will have its say on who they would like to prioritize based on the criteria. And then ultimately, it will be on FEMA's headquarters to make the ultimate decision.
Okay, thank you for that clarification.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Jack, for joining us today and providing us this information, which is really great to hear. hopefully our communities will think about taking advantage of the DTA funds that are available. With that, we'll jump into the next part of our agenda, which is updates on what the Coastal Resilience Collaborative members have been doing as a whole. And I think, Laura, you're going to take us off.
I'm going to try multitasking. So our work groups, we are really excited about the work that our work groups do. In every meeting, we ask them all to present to you what they've been up to. This year, we're asking them to not only just present to you what they've been up to and what they're looking to do this coming year, but also we're trying to get you to get excited and get involved as well. So to facilitate that piece of it, we have created a Google form, and hopefully that link that I just put in the chat will work. So that form is going to be relevant to much of the rest of the meeting. It's going to give you an opportunity if you want to sign up for any of the many work groups that are going to be kind of pitching what they're doing. You can use it to sign up for those work groups. We're also going to be talking about leadership opportunities later on. And there's also an option to just provide other feedback or ask other questions. So that I'll be with later on as well. But so right now we're going to talk about the work groups, and just want to give you guys a reminder that anybody, any partner can pitch an idea for a work group. Our leadership committee or our full partnership does have to approve a work group. But if you have an idea that you would like to see partners from the NJCRC work on, you can pitch that idea, create a work group that will work towards that goal. Work groups can come and go, or they can kind of stay on in perpetuity as they find more tasks that they would like to work on. So now I'm going to turn our focus to our many work groups, and we're going to start getting an update by our ecological restoration and science work group. And Josh, if you're ready to go, I'll let you introduce yourself and talk about the work group.
Okay, thanks, Laura. I'm Josh Moody. I'm a research scientist with New Jersey DEP Division of Science and Research. And on behalf of my co-chairs and I'm going to present a little bit about the Ecological Restoration and Science Work Group. So we've been in existence a couple of years now. We have, four basic charges that I've outlined here. And really, foundationally, what we want to do is connect the best available science with planning and restoration activities. So that includes things like providing review for scientific review for restoration projects, permit applications, ideas, promoting the understanding of site specificity. Really that, there's a variety of tactics you can use for ecological restoration, and they can be appropriate in a variety of different places under different conditions, but they really all should serve an ecological goal. And also to advocate for scientific inquiry where it's needed. What do we need more research on? What are some key gaps in research that would help inform prioritization, planning, restoration, implementation? And we spent a lot of time trying to represent the diversity of the restoration and scientific community in New Jersey, not only through the geography of the state, but also a variety of different sectors, from the academic, NGO, public, private sectors, a variety of disciplines from engineering to ecology, and also a variety of scientific expertise within those disciplines to really, try to fill out the work group to best represent the diversity in expertise that we have in New Jersey. Next slide, Laura. So I'm one of 4 co-chairs of this group. We also have Meredith Comey, the Coastal Restoration Program Director from New York, New Jersey Baykeeper. We have Martha Maxwell Doyle, the Senior Coastal Resiliency Manager for Partnership for the Delaware Estuary. We got Captain Al, the Habitat Restoration Program Director from American Littoral Society, and then myself. So, if you're interested in this work group, you can reach out, fill out the form that Laura added the link to the chat to. You can also reach out to any of us. I've provided our email addresses there. We're always available to, answer some questions and talk about what we do. And next slide, Laura, for a little update on what we're planning to do this year to see if anybody's interested in joining. We've got a few activities on our books. So one of the items we've been working on for the past couple of years is called the Coastal Resilience Resource Library. So this would be, a web-based hub where someone could go to and they could get documents. These could be documents, these could be peer-reviewed publications. They could be guidance documents for states and communities. These could be, maybe monitoring documents or monitoring plans, a variety of different publications that might be useful to either communities or individuals or groups that were interested in looking at different ways to get involved in coastal resiliency. This is sort of a subgroup activity. So within the Ecological Restoration and Science Work Group, we've had a couple of smaller groups that are kind of splitting off, working on various things and bringing them back to the group. So over the last, year or so, we've worked on the structure of this, what sort of information needs to be included, how would the user, interact with all these different elements of the functionality of it. And then we've been trying to compile content. And this year we're going to move forward and hopefully get something up online. One of our other charges, is to provide review. And there's a couple of items this year that we're going to directly provide review on. And when I say provide review, I mean, it's open to any member depending on your availability, your expertise, your interest in doing that. But we try to get small groups together to help either test various things or just provide some review of documents. So this year we've got the New Jersey DEP Coastal Ecological Restoration and Adaptation Plan, CRAP. That is basically a web-based mapping portal of different restoration project and areas of interest where there's opportunity for those. And that Rutgers has been working on that for a while, and it's ready to go live in the next few months. So we'll be wanting to get a group together to go through it, test it out, and provide some comments on that. Partnership for the Delaware Estuary is starting another tool development with Rutgers University called the Marsh Futures Mapper, looking at how the implementation of restoration interventions might have landscape level effects. So as that group comes together, we'll be looking for some committee members to provide some review and guidance there. And there could be a couple other things that come up. We've also done a little work in trying to establish a DEIJ subgroup. And there's some ongoing conversations with the leadership committee about what that's going to look like, but there's interest in our work group to do that and to also align that maybe with a newsletter that we had put out, I guess 2 years ago now, that we're looking to do again, restoration news, but hopefully this version might try to highlight some of the work and projects and needs that are being done in some overburdened communities. So at the bottom, I have a little timeline about how we're, hoping to get attend to some of this stuff throughout the year, but we would be having our first meeting probably in early April. So if you're interested, reach out to us. We'll get you on the email lists for that. And likely at that meeting, we'll be planning out some of that work with the Coastal Resilience Research Library and the DEIJ subgroup as well. So if you have any questions, give us a shout. We're happy to talk to you, and hopefully we'll get a few emails for some new members.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Josh. The Ecological Restoration and Science Work Group has definitely been a shining star last few years. So really grateful for all the work that Josh has been doing. We'll talk a little bit more about how that's going to get funded later on. Right now, we're going to hear from Adriana Zito Livingston from the Nature Conservancy about the Beneficial Use Learning Network work group.
Great. Laura, can you just give me a thumbs up if you can hear me? I'm on mobile, so sorry for all that weirdness. Okay, thanks so much for the time and energy to be able to talk to you about I think one of the newest, it's safe to say, work groups under the NJCRC. And so that is the Beneficial Use Learning Network. So this is a group that tactic-wise is very much nested within the ecological and science work group. So it's one of the tactics used for ecological restoration, but it's one that we've been working on kind of off here on the side because we're still developing the science and the technical expertise to be able to feed into kind of that resource library and some of those projects on the ground. So we've been working for the last year and a half on our own. And in June, we were graciously adopted by NJCRC as an official work group, which has been a wonderful experience and a great chance to make sure that the tactics being developed and led here in New Jersey are applied not just within our state, but elsewhere in the region and throughout the Mid-Atlantic. So this has been a really successful group. So it began, this is a set of techniques that are fairly new and need proof of concept. We started, I guess, Laura, you can go to the next slide. So these are largely restoration practitioners working together to develop and share best practices and compare notes. So really make sure that we're advancing the practice relatively quickly. So we have been working together primarily through producing webinars. So we did a couple of practitioner-based workshops early on to get a sense of the types of information we felt like we could share and how projects have gone. And then started producing through the Learning Network this series of webinars to build a shared understanding about various project stages and examples of beneficial use for restoration. So I should back up for half a second and indicate that we are primarily focused on using the beneficial use part of this is the use of dredge material that is being dredged from our navigation channels and then applied to salt marshes to build elevation and to do ecological enhancement. So this is a family of restoration projects that have been under development in New Jersey since Sandy funds were dispensed. So we've been working on these projects little by little for a while, and now hopefully more projects are being proposed and developed. So we've given several webinars. So these are virtual webinars on designing constructible projects, constructing these projects adaptively, how to even select a site and ways that practitioners have been successfully justifying projects. So all the pieces, so we're mining existing projects for the pieces of information that'll be most useful for others that want to pursue this type of work, while educating ourselves, the regulators, and navigation managers, who all need to be kind of in lockstep to make this tactic work. So our next webinar, I'll put a plug in for that, is this Wednesday. So we'll be focusing on how to maintain a restoration site. So after the sediment has been added to the site, there's some tactics and techniques and kind of this nebulous period of time where tweaks need to be made and adjustments need to be made to make sure that projects are meeting their goals. And so that'll be this Wednesday at 2:30. I can make sure Laura has the information to be able to circulate the registration link for that if folks want to tune in and learn along. I will say that one of the biggest values to the Learning Network has been able to use the NJCRC site to have a video library of all of our previously recorded webinars. So if you're interested in the information that we've been sharing thus far, or want to check out these recordings, they're all available on the NJCRC website. Under videos, it's BULN, so Beneficial Use Learning Network videos is what you want to check out there. So Laura, you can go forward. So we're pretty proud of what we've been able to accomplish in a year and a half, just some restoration practitioners asking questions of each other and sharing projects, warts and all. We've engaged with over 100 partners, 100 individuals from New England and the Mid-Atlantic. So not just New Jersey, though New Jersey certainly shines bright. New Jersey and Delaware have been a really great focal learning area. Because we have forward-thinking regulators that are supportive of these projects and forward-thinking navigation managers that enable them. So we were approved, like I said, in June of 2022. We've provided these webinars, and I think the piece we're most excited about next is, sure, we've been talking about it and sharing it, and you can watch 2-hour webinars on it. But what we're working with Stevens and Monmouth to produce as a series of resource documents. So state of the practice and sharing kind of what we know so far and summarizing the technical expertise that's come from these webinars and come from the practitioners engaged in this network. All right, Laura, next. In the future, we're hoping to be able to continue to share and develop this community of practice so that we can work together on improving these tactics. We have webinars planned for the winter and spring, and the creation of those initial resource documents. And then we'll be developing a communication plan to get that information out to folks. It's certainly not the end of the story, but it's a useful time to be able to have a summary of what we've learned so far and to be able to share that expertise with folks that are interested in building similar projects or improving their own projects. So I appreciate the time and support we've received from CRC, and there'll be more from us hopefully in the future.
Thank you so much, Adriana. And if anybody's interested in joining that work group, you can use the Google form. We're going to invite Amanda Archer now to come off mute and talk about the technical assistance coffee chat work group.
Yeah, so hi everybody. My name is Amanda Archer and I'm a Coastal Training Program Coordinator at the Jacques Cousteau Reserve, located in Tuckerton, New Jersey. The Technical Assistance Coffee Chat Work Group is a subgroup of the NJCRC, and we focus on providing technical assistance that can increase stakeholder capacity for resilience planning and implementation through information sharing, collaboration, and networking opportunities. Tom and Laura recently got this group together, and myself, along with Joseph Sakawi from the Waterfront Alliance, are co-leading this effort. Joe, if you're still on, feel free to say hi. Next slide. All right, so with that, I would like to announce an upcoming virtual technical assistance coffee chat on Tuesday, February 7th at 11 a.m. Jack Hyde had just mentioned community engagement being one of the things that are looked at in the BRIC applications. So this topic will be about building community support for coastal resilience projects. It's going to be an open discussion opportunity with Sarah Dougherty and from CARP Strategies and Frank McLaughlin from the New Jersey DEP Office of Brownfield and Community Revitalization. And yes, so Sam just put the meeting link in the chat. So feel free to register using that link if you're interested. The next coffee chat will be held in April, so be on the lookout for the announcement on that. And we're looking to host one every other month going forward. Next slide, please. And lastly, for all our partners on the NJCRC network, we're looking for others to collaborate with us in our work group. There's value in using this group to foster a deeper networking opportunity for yourself and others. And so we would like to say we provide like a creative space to let you connect to local stakeholders and create usable assistance without having to take on the full list yourself. And then the work you would be doing in this group can lead to improved community capacity to address the evolving requirements of coastal resilience planning. So if you are looking to get involved, feel free to reach out to myself, Laura, or Tom. We're going to be meeting the first Wednesday of each month at 11 a.m. We can get you in on a work group meeting, and there's no obligations as to what you contribute. So thank you guys, and I look forward to your attendance in our February coffee chat.
Thank you, Amanda. We are going to just keep cruising through all of our awesome work groups. And that's, again, Google form for you to be able to get more information on any of them. So next up, Carl Villacova is going to talk about the communications work group.
Hey, everybody. For those who don't know me, my name is Carl Villacova. I'm the communications director for Monmouth University's Urban Coast Institute. And I've actually been the webmaster for the CRC for the last few years. I also helped advise Amy Williams way back in the day when the CRC was first being formed about platforms for the website and things like that to help get it off the ground. But now Tom and Laura have engaged a consultant, or are in the process of it, to help build a new website. The one that we have has served us well for a few years, but I know that there is some other capacity. Some people are interested in doing some other things with it, like building searchable databases on it, that the current site really just was not built to handle. So this communications work group would help advise on that process. You know, the organization of this new website, the form it takes. There could be some branding type discussions about the look and feel of it that could actually influence the other informational materials that CRC develops in the future. And, you know, the group could also discuss engagement opportunities that hold value for the organization, the creation of materials and what it needs, and other general outreach. So I have volunteered to be a part of this group and hope others will do the same. And Laura has provided the Google sign-up sheet for anyone who would be interested in that. And I'll also see if Laura wants to add anything, or Tom, on what I just said.
I don't know if Tom has anything, but I think you covered the biggest pieces of it, where we got a lot going on. We've been doing a lot in the communication and outreach realm, and definitely could appreciate volunteers that are working to help make some of the things that Tom and I have in our brain look nicer, because engineers aren't necessarily really great at that. All right. So thank you to any volunteers. That would be great. Next up, we're going to have Angela Anderson talk about our another one of our newest work groups, the municipal work group.
Hi, everybody. I'm Angela Anderson, and this is the municipal work group. So we are a new member. I'm a new member and a new co-chair, apparently. I have a new committee. I don't know. So I got a couple of news there. Adrian, I think we're neck and neck on the newer and the newest. So I'm Angela Anderson, Long Beach Township Marine Field Station in Holgate in Southern Ocean County. This is our municipal work group, and it's myself and Alyssa from Brick Township. We're kind of the bookends of the Barnegat Bay watershed. I got the northernmost terminus and the southernmost terminus here, kind of coming together to help us form what we're calling municipal work group, because it's municipal focused, but it's not necessarily that we would need all municipalities as members of the work group. You can push the slide forward. So, and I apologize if there's any typos or anything. I did kind of just put this together. All this has kind of happened quickly. Alyssa and I got together last week to really talk about it. But, you know, obviously with any work group, we've got it. Who's the key people that need to be at the table? You know, obviously it's a municipal focus, not necessarily municipalities. You know, we want to focus on the practices, building a framework, you know, within a municipality, gaining insight into what a municipal priority is, and then how to get them the toolkit needed to move that into a plan and then move that into success. These kind of roadmaps that we want to look at, you know, they can be town specific, but we have to be looking regionally. We just heard from, you know, Nick, and how, you know, we're focusing regionally. There's funding regionally, and there's things that are coming that are also town. And then we heard from FEMA neighborhoods specifically. So it all becomes a roadmap through the network that we would create within the umbrella, you know, sort of the CRC. You know, there could be things that are already in motion within municipalities and the framework of municipalities. There's a lot of things that are going to be antiquated in the municipalities, but there's going to be leading municipal work, and then there's going to be people that we really just got to, you know, help frame it and identify, you know, where the gaps are. Funding is huge. So universally looking at all of these options and how to make those matches. I think we're going to be seeing a lot of that, the hard wiring between all of these offerings for funding to municipalities that don't have enough resources, right? You know, or specialty, you know, staff members, and maybe we need to be looking regionally at, you know, planning, and absolutely regionally at permitting, say, and then funding. So those, you know, planning, permitting, funding, but first prioritizing within each municipality's goal. So shared messaging, the CRC network, showing that, again, that sort of broader base, all of the efforts that we want to do individually, regionally under this CRC umbrella, you know, statewide, really tells a powerful story and is very far reaching. We don't have to just be within the same watershed. We have a lot to learn from each other, and you know, we have a lot to teach each other, and this umbrella of the CRC really helps us get there. I think, do I have another slide? No, sure. So what am I doing today? I'm trying to invite you to come join our work group. So we want to increase municipal membership first, as Alyssa would point out, right straight up. Well, if it's going to be municipal work group, we need some municipalities on here. So we do want some stars and stellar ones right now. But we, Alyssa did put an inventory together of, every county, every coastal, waterfront facing, community getting, Alyssa's pulling together, and updating, mayor lists and that. So we'll have to really do a checks and balance on who's, after some elections. And then, who else needs to be included on this for success? So we just brainstorming, Alyssa and I the other day, county, DEP, OEMs, floodplain managers, engineers. See, that's the first typo I say. So as a grant writer, it's hilarious that I misspelled that. Anyway. Academic partners, NGO policy. So, Alyssa, if you'd like to add anything, please, but I figure we want to kind of get this going quickly because we're kind of fresh and new and we want to keep our momentum. So late February, we want to have a meeting. You don't have to raise your hand today. You can fill out that Google Doc that Laura put up. And Alyssa, if you have anything to add.
My biggest thought was to send an invitation to all the coastal municipalities. But I had asked Brick Township to join the CRC, and my administrator said to me, I don't know what they are. You have to get me some literature on them. So I thought it would be forward thinking rather than just give her a brochure. Maybe we could put the brochure that Laura already has regarding our information bullets of what we do and send it to all of the coastal municipalities to see who's interested in becoming a member and engaging.
And anything we send out will be edited from this time forward.
But everything will go to Tom and Laura before we send it, just to make sure. I mean, my database is probably missing a dozen or so communities that you'd probably like to target or include. Yeah.
Thanks.
All right. Well, thank you guys. So yeah, we just roped Angela Anderson, and she's been a powerhouse in her region. And we got her in the NJCRC. She's never been to a meeting before, and now she's leading a work group. So thank you for winging it. We appreciate all the work you guys are about on the horizon of doing. Our last work group is really more of a pie in the sky. This is where us or the leadership committee comes up with an idea sometimes, but we need somebody to champion it. So one of the ideas that we have is we would like to host a NJCRC conference or workshop in the spring of 2024, probably, so not immediately. And we would be looking to convene a group to help us plan that conference or workshop. And then we would also leave it to working with the leadership, but also the planning work group would also sort of identify the goals and the focus for that conference. So it's very nebulous, but if this sounds like something that you might be interested in, we are looking for work group members that would be willing to participate in this effort, and maybe even somebody to step up and say, hey, I'd love to lead this effort as well. But if that's something you're interested in, you can use the Google form. Tom, is there anything I missed with regard to our conference work group?
No, just to say we're just starting this effort, and we're looking for some fresh views and excitement around it. So please join us if you want to be part of a planning group.
All right. So work plan updates. We're a little behind, so I'm gonna go a little bit quickly, talking about what Tom and I have been up to this past fall. We were so busy. That's all I can tell you. Really talking an exceptional amount. At least for me, I felt like I did a whole lot of talking this past fall. So Tom and I both did some presentations. Tom presented about the NJCRC at NSBPA, the National Shore and Beach Preservation Association's meeting. It was at the early October. And then I presented on the NJCRC at the New Jersey Association of Floodplain Managers meeting at the end of October. Basically telling people who we are, what we're doing, and again, trying to recruit more partners, specifically focused on municipalities, really trying to build at that base. With along with those presentation, or along with presentation at NJAFM, the Floodplain Managers Association also graciously donated us a table where Tom and I exhibited for the very first time. And then we also exhibited at New Jersey League of Municipalities in November. This is, you can see there's a little picture of our table. We got, I don't know if you can see, there's a bag in the center of our table with our tablecloth. All this funding came from some of the leftover money we had in our year 2 DEP money that allowed us to pay for tabling supplies and for exhibiting fees at League of Municipalities. But like I said, the New Jersey Association of Floodplain Managers had donated the space for us at their conference. DP hung out with us at NJAFM at the Cracker Barrel table. It's in the center there. But it was a great experience. I think, as I said, we did a lot of talking. We met a lot of people. Some of those people have become partners already. Some of them are here at this meeting. Some are, some people gave us names of people who should be at this meeting today. And we appreciate all of you that have shown up, become partners. It was definitely a very successful effort, and we're looking forward to doing similar in later this year as well. Tom, you want to talk about the?
Sure. So as part of our year 2 work plan, we had somebody to do a deep dive, kind of a strategic planning dive with an external consultant to look at our structure, our organization. Are we meeting the members and partners' goals and objectives in a way that makes sense? So part of that was to look at our leadership structure, which right now, this graphic here just shows how the CRC is structured. We're a collaborative impact model. So all of our work stems from our partners. So the partners as a whole, everybody here today, drive the organization's goals and objectives in resilience. From the partners, we create a leadership committee. That leadership committee should represent the partnership as a whole. And then from the leadership committee, co-chairs are selected to lead, or so day to day or month to month, keep the organization moving forward. And so one of the things we've noticed is we have grown in numbers since we started the organization in the mid 2000s, or so 2020s. So one of the things that came out of the strategic planning analysis was to kind of revamp the leadership committee, expand its membership in some ways, and also think about rotation and term limits. So we are going to take that recommendation to heart. We're actually starting an effort now to look at the structure we have, where we need to expand membership in the leadership committee, and what are the right number of years people should be engaged in leading the organization as a whole. So that's just to say we're going to form yet another kind of work group to look at this. That's one of the options on the spreadsheet that Laura created. The online form has a checkbox for the leadership committee. So if you're interested in getting into the structure of the organization and helping us grow in a way that makes sense in terms of leadership, please join that committee or work group, and we'll value your input. We really want to get some fresh eyes on the organization. So, so please join up if you're interested.
All right, I think we're back to me. I'm just going to quickly tell you guys about our year 3 DEP funding, the contract we've been working on for a little while. It should be finalized soon. Those primary tasks that are getting funded, though, are ones that you've already been hearing about throughout our meeting. It's going to be continuing our technical assistance coffee chats. We didn't talk about our technical assistance directory earlier today, but that is going to be, they're continuing to fund that as well. All of that, as well as the next bullet point, the development of the Regional Ecological Restoration Document Hub, which Josh called the Coastal Resilience Resource Library, are all going to be part of this new website. So we're a lot of the funding for that new website and these databases are coming from DEP, which we're grateful for. And then there's also a little bit of more funding in there for supporting management and more outreach. So more tabling, more exhibiting, more awesome canvas bags that if you didn't get one last year, then you should definitely, hopefully we'll have some more this year to hand out. But that funding is important because it helps us be able to keep pushing forward with all of these great meetings and helping the work groups do all the great work that they're doing as well. Anything, Tom, I want to say about that, or you want to just go into CFET?
Yeah, CFET. Let's move on to the CFET. So this is just an update. Last year, we were approached by an organization in Camden called the Center for Environmental Transformation. They were preparing a proposal to the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation's National Coastal Resilience Fund funding opportunity to build capacity in their community to use coastal resilient elements for community resilience. And so we signed on as a partner. We're not getting direct funding, but we offered to provide any assistance we could. Great news, they actually received a grant from NFWF, and they're just starting to organize their efforts. And even better news, a number of our partners are already engaged with them in the planning process, and that includes New Jersey Future, Partnership for the Delaware Estuary, and Sea Grant are all team partners on that grant. So very excited to help them out. If anybody wants to be engaged in that, please reach out to me. As I said, right now, we're just kind of organizing the structure of what this will be.
And with that, I guess we'll move right into our partner updates. We did ask our newest partners if they wanted to introduce themselves, and a few stepped up. So we're going to have two, I think, came volunteered to introduce themselves to the partnership. So Matt, if you want to come off mute and say a quick bit.
Sure. Yes, we just look forward to being a part of the group. A number of the organizations that you've had on, we've been working here in Stafford since 2019 and taking advantage of a number of different things. DEP, who's on the line, Becky's been awesome, along with Nick. We're doing Resilient Stafford here and trying to come up with that long-term plan, but it's kind of encompassed a number of things we've already been doing. We did a lagoon study to get to a dredge permit. So you have ACT engineers here. We're working with Lisa Auermiller to do a watershed management study. We're working with Stevens. We have an RL analysis with Dr. Q going on right now. We've had a number of different stormwater projects combination between Stevens, NJIT, and Rutgers that we put forward. We did a massive sewer project here that we've cleaned up about 186 acres of the bay, which has helped us to continue to replace our sewer system here. And even Captain Al's on the line. He just came out recently, and we look forward to the partnerships. I think having this type of group together is a great opportunity, and I think it just opens up a lot of different planning and opportunities for the future. So thank you for including us.
We're thrilled to have you. And yeah, just the partnerships. It's all about the partnerships and the partners. So that's why we definitely want to make sure we have time to let everybody get highlight what they're doing. Rich, you ready to tell us about Port of Dam?
Well, first of all, we're very happy to be part of the NJCRC, and we look forward to being part of it for years to come. For those of you who don't know Port of Dam, we've been around for more than 4 decades. We have the most extensive history of implementing temporary water control solutions in the world. We're specialists in flood fighting, cofferdams, and water storage solutions. We've successfully executed over 6,000 projects around the world, and we're headquartered right in Williamstown, New Jersey, in Gloucester County. The picture on the right is a canal system that we controlled that enabled the contractor to build pedestrian bridges. If you can go to the next slide. Our patented best-in-class flood barrier systems are made right here in New Jersey. Our rapid deployment systems are available up to 6 feet high. 4 individuals can install 150 linear feet in less than an hour, and there are no ground penetrations, the same amount of sandbags would take 800 man-hours. Our traditional systems are available for flood protection up to 12 feet high. Our rapid deployment systems, when they're done, they store compactly in that small little container there that's 4 by 4 by 6. So they don't take up a lot of space and you can stack them 3 high. So it's very, very convenient to keep in areas where you anticipate flooding. The picture on the right is a casino hotel that we protected from inundation by the Mississippi River. If you go to the next slide. Our cofferdams can be installed in up to 12 feet of water. And what they do is they allow you to work in the dry where previously it was wet. So if you take a look at the pictures here, you'll see on the left, seawall repair going on. And on the right, very large scale remediation project. Cofferdams are a very cost-effective solution compared with ramming sheet piles into the seabed. Our water storage solutions can come in all shapes and sizes, and because we build them in place, they can also be put in some very unique areas, difficult to get to. The projects that we do range from emergency response to store contaminated water until it can be dealt with, to the sexy side of our business, doing water sets for TV programs and movies. We've done episodes of CSI, and we actually built a 2.5 million gallon tank for all the water scenes for the Deepwater Horizon movie. If anybody has any questions about the kinds of services we offer, please don't hesitate to reach out to me.
Awesome. Thanks, Rich. That was cool. It was cool. Also exciting to have you as a partner of the NJCRC, and great that you're in New Jersey. All right, so we're moving into our good old traditional partners, getting some updates from them. Isabel, you want to give us an update on what Hudson River Foundation's been up to?
Sure. Hi, everyone. Thanks for this opportunity. I just have a couple updates. One, you guys might be interested, the your New York, New Jersey Harbor and Estuary Program. We're going to have a couple grant RFPs coming out for small grant funds this spring. One is, it's right appropriate for the conversations we've been having today. It's going to support communities as they're working towards any kind of climate change issues in the New York, New Jersey Harbor area. So if you look, I'll post our website in the chat if you want to look up where we operate and see if you are in it. But it's essentially like, coastal northern New Jersey all the way down around to the Raritan Bay Shore. So yeah, if you're interested, keep an eye out, or you can let me know in the chat. So we're having the community RFP, and then another one that's going to be for any kind of planning or getting communities together to plan restoration projects within disadvantaged communities in our area. So there's another small grant for that. Other updates, I've spoken several times about my aquatic connectivity through Climate Ready Infrastructure program. I'm wrapping up the big project of mine for that this spring as well. So I'll have final results. If you don't remember it, this is the project where I'm looking at bridges and culverts for both how well they can pass fish, and at the same time to identify any kind of erosion, flooding issues with those structures, undersized structures, things like that. So definitely has, climate change implications. So if you're interested in those results, the project was largely in the lower Raritan area of New Jersey. Or if you're interested in the methodology, I'm happy to present to you and your group and spread the word. That's about it for me. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We're going to cruise right along. Nick Brown from ACT Engineers, you want to tell us what you guys are up to?
Yeah, I'm Nick Brown. I'm with ACT Engineers. And if you don't mind going to the first slide I sent you. So we're going to talk, or I'm going to talk briefly about some of the success that we've had recently, along with some of the big projects that we're working on in our back bays in New Jersey. So on the left here, we've worked with Matt Vonderhayden in Stafford Township to help get them one of those natural climate solution grants that Nick talked about earlier. We'll be working on Popular Point to restore about 33 acres of marsh and build a front edge on it to make sure that we can slow down the amount of marsh that's being eroded. And this will use about 150,000 cubic yards of beneficial use material. And this will be a partnership with the Fish and Wildlife Service and the DOT. And then we've also worked with Alyssa Cummins in Brick, and we got another NCS grant that Nick talked about for 95 acres of marsh restoration in Brick Township, and that will use about 120,000 cubic yards of material, and that's a partnership with U.S. Fish and Wildlife. And then if you don't mind going to the next slide. We are partners, or we're working with ALS on the Morris River restoration, which was another NCS recipient. And this is to protect 19.5 acres of shoreline with about 3,500 feet of living shoreline breakwater, or excuse me, 19.5 acres with 4,300 feet of shoreline. And then finally, in Cape May County, we are working with Strathmere and Upper Township to develop a conceptual model of a shoreline protection near their boat launch, which would include survey and geotech, engineering, permitting, and then eventually moving towards implementation for this project, which might be a future candidate for an NCS grant. And my contact info is on the right side of the screen here if you need it. And we are always looking for coastal engineers, environmental scientists, surveyors, CAD technicians, and other folks who are interested in internships as well. And we're located in Robbinsville and Memorial. So that's all I have. Thanks, Laura.
Thank you, Nick. And Jim.
Thanks, Laura. Yeah,
Same.
Jim Figge, Ducks Unlimited. Yeah, got quite a few different projects going on. I apologize, I didn't have any slides considering I just got back from vacation yesterday, so I'll just wing it for now. Of the many things we have going on with many of the partners on this call, one of the latest ones that I kind of wanted to bring to the attention of the group is what we're calling our low-cost, low-click salt marsh resiliency restoration initiative that sort of born out of one of the sub committees or work groups out of the Delaware, New Jersey salt marsh restoration work group, whom many of us are also a part of, where we're testing and expanding upon various types of hydrologic and elevation issues, utilizing low-cost, low-tech techniques to basically reset a lot of the legacy effects of past land management, particularly with mosquito ditching, agricultural ditching, berming, saw hay farming, all those kinds of things. And we did just get a recent grant with Delaware Watershed Conservation Fund to start 15 sites throughout Delaware Bay, half of which will be on the New Jersey side. And we've got several replicate sites that we started but don't have grant funding for with throughout Barnegat Bay and some of the southern coastal Atlantic counties. But yeah, just wanted to get the word out there. Probably there'll be much more follow-up as we move along and can give more presentations and updates as we got more to share.
Thank you, Jim. I know we are getting to the end. A lot of people are hopping off, but we do want to just try to give everybody a little their moment if you're able to hang around, or people can drop things in the chat if they feel like they want to. Meredith?
Yes. Tom, did you say you made a slide, or is this a slide?
No, there's a slide. Laura, you want to? There.
Oops, sorry.
Laura's trying to steal our thunder. Go ahead.
Yeah. I'll let you talk about this first since it's your slide.
Okay. So I just one update from us. The Urban Coast Institute partnered with Baykeeper and Naval Weapons Station Earl, and we're able to get some funding through Congress funding through support from Representative Pallone in Monmouth County to begin to look at a program to advance coastal restoration adaptation projects along the Raritan and Sandy Hook Bayshore. And this is actually an outcome of work other people have been doing for some time, including Dennis, if you're still on the meeting, and now Nick Kinther at Naval Weapons Station Earl, to work with the county to build out a plan for coastal restoration as a way to improve both community resilience and facility resilience in Monmouth County. And so this money will help expand the work Meredith's been doing at Baykeeper for many years with the oyster reefs, as well as look at some other projects in the area. And Meredith, you want to?
Yeah, so it's a really, great and timely opportunity. We have been advancing work at Earl for the past 10 years or so, but mostly these past couple years, things have been taking off with partnerships with Rutgers and Monmouth and Earl, of course. So we have the NIFWIF grant that we're working on there for final design and permitting for the shoreline of Naval Weapons Station Earl. We have our pilot living shoreline that we just got additional DEP funding for to continue our research with that, to look at best practices in urban areas. And the Army Corps DEP Baykeeper 10-11 acre project that would go between the piers at Earl. That has, the planning for that has started as well. So yeah, very busy, but the chance to really shape and look at a coastal resilience program dedicated to the Bayshore is very exciting. That's all I have.
All right, I will be super quick. I typed and dropped a website in the chat. When we send out these slides, all of these individual documents are all linked, but Stevens just released through DEP funding. Oop, I think I put Monmouth's, I meant to put DEP up there and I put Monmouth by mistake. Sorry, DEP. We updated our living shorelines engineering guidelines this past year, and they are being posted on the DEP website that I put in the chat. We also have a summary document that summarizes the guidance and most specifically the changes. And then also we created a compendium that is focused more on eco shorelines on developed coasts, guidances and best practices. So it's just sort of the ways that you can start greening your shoreline if you are space constrained. And then we also have a summary document that's also on the DEP website about midway down that page. So I'm moving on. Lisa put her update in the chat. So I'm just going to move on to ALS, American Littoral Society, which I don't know if it's going to be Tim or Al giving their quick update.
Hey, it's going to be me real quick. So we've been doing a lot of work with municipalities. We're finishing up some more work on Slade Dale and Point Pleasant, which is a marsh restoration. That's the one with the Christmas tree cribbing. Also, we got a REPI grant working with Tom and Sumco with Marty McHugh and others for Avon and Bradley Beach at Sylvan Lakes. So it's a Coastal Lakes Planning Grant through the DOD. And then other municipalities are working with, just to name a few, are Lavalette, Seaside Park, Bayhead, Stafford, Matt already introduced that, Woodbridge and Avalon. And then we're finishing up probably in the next couple of weeks, a 2,050 linear foot living shoreline South Riverside Avenue in Neptune Township and Shark River Inlet. And that incorporates sills, beach, berm, tide valves, and a number of other things as well. And that's FEMA funded through Neptune, and Neptune bonded out on that too. So pretty cool. And then just a little quick one, in case you didn't know, we received the Governor's Environmental Excellence Award for 2022 for our Forked River Beach project. That's 2,600 linear feet of oyster reef at Forked River Beach. We're continuing that project. We set about 32 million oyster out there, and we've worked with a ton of partners. Angela, we used your shell on the back reefs, about 400 cubic yards of that, and Jetty Rock Foundation, and just a bunch of cool partners and bringing that together. And we'll set another 32 million there late spring or June. And then Nick kind of stole my thunder there a little bit on the mouth of the Morris River, and that's what these slides are about. So originally this was a NIFWIF grant, about 4.8 million with 3.2 million matched by the state. And this is at Basket Flats. So there's a revetment about 400 feet. And then we put in what you can see here, these breakwaters, these hybrid breakwaters that are in Tensar mattresses. And they work. So there's about there's 9 of those. They're about 200 feet long, pretty wide, I think like 10 feet wide plus. And you can see in that second picture how they are attenuating the wave. We just did recent drone surveys out there, guys, and we are attenuating sediment like you can't believe. We're getting ready to put quar logs out there to get the elevation of the marsh back up and replant, as well as add shell there to the lee of those structures that you see. Rather than set them, we've been asked to go ahead and just, they should naturally set with oyster and they'll be more subtidal. So we're doing a lot of good work down there right now. And if you go to the next slide, this is what Nick from ACT talked about. We were awarded $4.99 million out of the NCS grant to continue our work. So this is across the river mouth at Northwest Reach, where we're putting in 18 breakwaters, very similar to what we saw at Basket Flats. Tons of partners on here, like Wildlife Restoration Partnership, Stockton University. The municipalities are in on this as well, the state. Everybody is involved, and there's other projects going on within this complex right now. So it's really great to see the mouth of the Morse. 50 years ago, they've been dying for these projects at the towns, and we're really starting to bring back the resilience and the ecology here. We are restoring, not protecting, 20 acres here. So as you see those red lines, we've set up, once we have the breakwaters, and we're setting up treatment areas to build elevations, and then working inward from the shoreline to eventually restore 400 acres. And we're actually protecting, with just the breakwaters themselves, thousands of acres of marsh. And that leads into the carbon sequestration piece and everything on that. So that's kind of where we're at right now, man. We're hustling. And I did it in 3 minutes, right?
I think you were right there.
Right on.
All right, Terry, are you still here?
Still here. Good to see y'all.
Sorry.
Just wanted to real quickly go over some of the priorities that we have set for the coming year. But my main priority is always just trying to raise awareness about the other shoreline of New Jersey, the Meadowlands shorelines. We're excited because we got new LiDAR and hyperspectral imagery for the whole district this year. So we're busy creating new habitat maps for all of our coastal sites, as well as comparing the elevations and other changes with our 2014 imagery. So coming up with some real interesting changes along our coastlines. We're starting just this week working with Rutgers on a climate change studio that will go through next fall, developing a Meadowlands resiliency plan. So happy to work with Gene Herb on that. And then we have a number of restoration projects that I won't even get to, but they really run the gamut of the different habitats. So in all, what we're trying to do is restore a lot of the coastal habitat that never really existed in the Meadowlands, but that the wildlife is looking for. And then on the second side, in addition to all of our restoration work, we do all these long-term monitoring studies. And they've been going on, some of them for 20, 30 years. And one of the longest ones is our fish survey, and we're kicking off our 4th survey. The first one was in '87, then the next one 2003, and the last one was 2013. And the graph on the right just shows the diversity of species and how they changed over those first 30 years. So we're going to be adding on this 40th year, but this year we'll be adding some eDNA analysis and also doing some eel monitoring, thanks to Isabel and her group at Hudson River Foundation. And in addition, we're adding a lot more remote camera monitoring, and just got our acoustic monitoring equipment last week. So with that, we're going to be looking at birds, but also bats and frogs. So that's our priorities for now. Thanks.
Thank you, Terry. I think it's up to Tom. We're wrapping it up.
Yeah, wrap it up.
Thank you.
Yeah, just quickly, I know everybody's trying to get out of here. But yeah, thank you all for joining us today. Please fill out the survey that Laura put in the chat. If you want to join any of these work groups or any other efforts we have ongoing. Just again, our next coffee chat will be February 7th. And the next Beneficial Use Learning Network webinar is this Wednesday at 2:30. So please join us if you're interested in those topics. And lastly, look for a updated newsletter from us sometime in the February, March timeframe. We hope to get another newsletter out there for you. So with that, thanks again. Really happy to see everyone, so many of us come together today. That was really a great group, and we look forward to working with you in the future.
Yes, thank you all.